And we're live. Good afternoon, or good morning, good day. Happy Monday. My name is Julian Jean Pierre. I'm from the Royal St. Lucian Seamoss Company, and today I'm doing a live stream to talk about they, where we get St. Lucian Seamoss from. Where the areas are in St. Lucia that have the Seamoss. So, I'm about to share my screen, but for those that are, want to join in the conversation, I'm just going to post you guys some links into the comments here so that if you want to join in the conversation, you can. And just give me a minute and I'll post them here. Uh, First link is going to be if you want to join in on the chats and get your chat seen on the screen. You click this link. Let's get it here. And then the second one, if you want to join in the conversation, hey, happy Monday. My name is Julian Jean Pierre. We're going to add in these links. You guys got to bear with me. I'm new to this whole thing. This is just started this feature, but hopefully we'll keep doing more of these live streams, and I'll get better and better at it as we go along. So, hoping this is working. Once I get this started, I'm going to Taeda. I think that's how I pronounce it right. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I always see you guys, sharing information in the Seamoss Club, Seamoss Buyers Club, which is awesome. That's good. So hopefully some of you guys will want to join in on the live stream. So with that, let's overlay the chat here. Awesome. So where am I here? Oh, you know what? I turned the volume down a bit. With that, let's overlay the chat. So here, awesome. So, you know what? I turned the volume down a bit. Awesome. Let's overlay the chat. So here, awesome. So, you know what? I turned the volume down a bit. Awesome. Let's overlay the chat. So here, yeah. So, you know what? I turned the volume down a bit. Let's overlay the chat. So here, that's what I gotta do. I gotta close these windows. All right. So it's a little crazy, not being sure what to do exactly. So okay, I'm going to share my screen now, and I am going to show you St. Lucia. So here's my screen there. I'll send St. Lucia. So here you are looking at the island of St. Lucia. It's a beautiful island. It's you have the up in the north. You have the Gros Soleil and Castries, which is this area here is where the main, I guess, like activity from humans is. Right, so the capital is up in the north. You look in this, you see a lot of humans up here. Right, this is where all the hotels are, all the beachfronts and stuff like that. They're all around here. There's even an airport here. This is where the ports are in Castries. This is the main, I guess, the capital of the island. And so when you zoom out and you look, you will see that on the Pacific side and to the north, this is where most of the how do you say it? Most of the human activity is, right? When you start going down to the south, this is where most of the sea moss is grown or found, harvested, whatever you want to call it. All right. So in the south end of the island, there's not a lot of development. The biggest town um, in the south is called Viewfort, and this is where the airport is. This is the town of Viewfort here. All right. And then if you go along the highway here, this is probably one of the only hotels in the area, Coconut Bay. All right. So if you notice, there's not a lot of housing. There's not a lot of like development in here. You know, all this area. Most of the humans are right up here in the north, but they're not close to the shore and the water. A lot of the Seamoss farms and everything start around here. Actually, I don't even think it's there. Let's see. Yeah, I'll know it from the stadium. So this whole area here is a protective mangrove. You know what I mean? So there's no homes, there's no humans, there's not a lot of water running off into the beach and stuff. And the Seamoss farms, for the most part, are all located in this region here. I wonder if I can draw a pen. No. I have to get used to this thing better. So it's all here, and it starts growing up more along this coast here. This is an area where a lot of sea moss is found. This is called Savins Bay. And so there's sea moss farms all along the side here, all here. This is where a big jetty comes up. So they do it here, and there's more farms over in this area, and then all in this region. I wonder if I can zoom in closer and see if I can see if I can make this bigger. Hey, and don't forget to make sure you follow us on Instagram at St. Lucian Seamoss. I do a lot of live streams there, and so you could see, join in on the discussion. We'll talk about Seamoss. So I think it's hard to see in here because you really would see a lot of sticks and stuff. But one of the things I want to point out is just how there is no like machines. There's no buildings. There's no, you know what I mean? Like all this is, it's just like, how do you say it? Not abandoned, but it's just, a lot of, there's no human interaction. Even right here, I don't know if you can see this in the mouse, but this right there, that's like, I think that's an area where some sea moss farmers are and they have their tent. This is actually, I think, this white piece, that's where they're drawing out the sea moss. I've actually been in that spot right there, so I'm familiar with it. All right. So the sea moss grows all along this coast here. Like I said, there's Savins Bay. One of the biggest, or most popular places, I guess the mecca of sea moss, where some of the best sea moss comes from, is an area called Pralin. And Pralin is right around. That's Mikud. I think I actually passed it. Let me see. There's Monrupo. There's Pralin. So this right here is like the mecca of Seamoss farms. This is where most of the Seamoss farms is. And actually, if you look right there, these are all Seamoss farms. They're kind of hard to see, but if you see these little layouts, these are the areas. And as you can see, there's no like humans in the area really. There's no housing. The closest like village here is right here. And even then, like there's not a lot of people there. There's no hotels, there's no sewage runoff. You know, this bay, and it's very calm and peaceful. If you could see over here in the mouse, this is where the water sort of breaks. And then inside here is just like a very, calm bay. And then I believe there's more sea moss probably growing up in here. All you can see is when you zoom in, you'll see these little areas. That's a Seamoss farm right there, there. Let me see if any of you guys have any questions. So I'm just gonna look at some of these chat questions and just answer them. That is true, uninhibited and not overly populated. From So one Facebook user says, I can see them. It looks like the rice plantations in Charleston, South Carolina from overhead. That's the slaves worked. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, this is where this right here to me is like the mecca of Seamoss, Prowling Bay. This whole area here. That's where literally some of the best Seamoss comes from. But this is not the only areas that I've seen people growing Seamoss in St. Lucia. There is some areas here on the northern side near Monchi, over in this area here, where they will sometimes have Seamoss farms. And then also down here on the south, on the other side of the island, near Labrie Bay, there's Seamoss farms in here. I wonder if we can even see them. You don't see too many, but I think a lot of them are capturing it out here in the low ending waters. I know we built a farm somewhere around here. Actually, no, it can't be there. Can't be there. I think it was probably here. We helped a guy build a farm here. Maybe it wasn't there. So hard to tell. It was off the side of the road, and I know it was off the side of the road, and we had to go down a steep hill. So I think it actually probably isn't there. Where's the road? Right away. I think it was actually right around here. That's right. So one of the Facebook users said, "Are there any areas that Seamoss can't grow?" That's a good question. I'm not too sure. As far as I know, well, here's the honest answer. Moss can't grow in areas where there is a lot of there's not a lot of salt water, or there's not a lot of it has to have certain the right conditions. And in fact, I'm going to pull up something that I have that kind of talks about the Seamoss and what conditions are required. This was a book that was put out by the St. Lucian government, or not St. Lucian, but it's an organization, Canary, I think it's called. It's like the Caribbean Natural Resources Institute. And so I'm going to share this with you guys. Stop sharing that screen. I'm going to share this with you guys. This, you guys, I think you're going to freak out. All right, let me make it bigger so you guys can read it. And I have the thumbnails. There we go. So this is the Caribbean National Resources Institute Guidelines series, and it talks about the cultivation of sea moss in the West Indies. All right. This is something I want to read a bit before I go into the actual document. You know, and it's the first one I want to share is called The Biology of Seaweed. And this is a brief biology of seaweed. Seaweeds belong to three main groups that can be distinguished by their dominant pigment. Seamoss species such as Garcellaria and Eukinema are reds, and the other two groups are greens and browns. However, while the greens and browns are generally easy to recognize, the color of a species of red seaweeds may be different from one site to another, varying from yellow to light brown to purple. Genetic variants of some of these Seamoss species may not have the red pigment and are bright green. That's the green Seamoss that you see. The shape of the plant and the type of branching is affected by the water conditions, which adds to the difficulty in identifying many of these seaweeds. And see, that's part of the problem here, is that it's very difficult to tell the like one species to the next when it's growing in these areas, because a lot of them are very similar, and they can change their sort of genetic makeup depending on the water and the conditions. So as most of the world's commercial seaweed species are reds or browns, only reds are used in the Caribbean. Like all seaweeds, they have no true roots, leaves, or flowers. This is important, guys. Like all seaweeds, they have no true roots, leaves, or flowers. Plants consist of branched fronds attached by a holdfast to a substrate such as a rock or dead coral. The holdfast anchors the seaweed but does not absorb nutrients like the roots of flowering plants. Let me make that clear again. The holdfast anchors the seaweed but does not absorb nutrients like the roots of flowering plants. The entire seaweed plant absorbs nutrients that are dissolved in the surrounding seawater. This is an important feature in the farming of seaweeds, as cutting from plants can be anchored to any substrate, such as rope or nets, as long as the water conditions are suitable. So this means that the Seamoss can grow anywhere that it can attach itself to, as long as the water conditions are suitable. The Seamoss will grow, and it will, be highly nutritious and beneficial, because the Seamoss gets the nutrients from the water. It cannot get the nutrients from the rocks. Seamoss has a complex life history which includes both sexual and asexual phases. There is an alternation of generations from identical looking male and female plants which produce grommets for sexual reproduction to other identical looking generation which produces spores. In addition to the free living plants which grow mixed in wild populations, there is a small parasitic phase that develops in the female plant. This phase can be seen in the reproductive female plants as small bumps on the branches. So those bumps that you're seeing on some of the sea moss, and you think that's making it look fake, those things are actually part of the reproduction phase, and it's used to help, put more sea moss. Says, here's a comment here I just want to answer. It says, I once asked the seller about this, and he has had absolutely no clue what I was asking him, and I knew that I didn't want to do business with him. Well, that's unfortunate. But here's the truth. Some of these farmers, they're not super educated on sea moss. They're not super educated on the science of it. They grow it. They know how to grow it. They know how to dry it. They know how to make good sea moss. That's all that matters. You know what I mean? But they should really be able to tell you where they get their sea moss from, where it's being grown, and how. So another question here is, they mutate and evolve like all life forms. That is true. Not these the sea moss is not all identical. You know what I mean? It's a living being. This thing is going to look different every time. It's like humans. No two humans are alike. So thank you for those comments. So yeah, so they getting back to this thing, it talks about the small bumps on the branches. Spores are released into the water and drift until they come in contact with a surface that is suitable for them to attach and germinate. The settlement and germination of spores is the means by which the species spreads and colonizes new substrates. The most common substrates for spore settlements are rocks, stones, dead corals, and shells, but some species can be found growing on almost anything, such as discarded cloth, plastic, tires, ropes, bricks, and wood. While the plants are growing, they may change color. The amount of the red pigment in the plants is affected by the amount of sunlight that they are exposed to and the amount of nitrogen, which is a nutrient that they require, that is available. Bright sunlight bleaches the plants to a pale straw color. A good supply of nitrogen, for example, from runoff after heavy rain, allows the plants to produce more of the red pigment. Thus, at any time, the final appearance of the plants is a balance between the effects of sunlight and nutrient availability. This is often seen on bushy lines where the upper plants may be very pale, but the shaded plants on the underside of the line may be deep red. If the shaded plants are also pale, then most likely has a low nitrogen available for the growth. Okay, so nitrogen is exceptionally important when they are growing, because they use the nitrogen to convert into the different minerals that they have. Okay, so now this is going into the talk about site selection, when they're selecting the site to make sure that they have the proper nutrients for the sea moss. So the different sea moss species grow wild in a variety of habitats, and it is not always possible to farm them in their natural habitat. On exposed windward coasts, where some of the Garcilaria species are harvested, the water may be too rough for installing lines on rafts or stakes. As the opposite extreme, very sheltered bays may not have enough water movement to keep plants free of sediment, particularly after heavy rainfall, when runoff from land carries large amounts of mud and silt into the sea. The sites that have been most successful so far have been on the windward coast, where areas with shallow seagrass beds are protected by offshore reefs that reduce the amount of wave action. All of the species listed in this manual have been grown successfully in such sites. However, there may be seasonal changes in the condition that affect growth during heavy rains in the wet season. Species such as Garcilaria can tolerate a drop of saltinity due to the freshwater runoff from a normal level of 35 parts per thousand, I think it is, down to 15. On the other hand, Eukinema, which is much less tolerant of the lower salinity, is best cultivated where the salinity doesn't drop below 30 parts. Because of this, the likely variation of the conditions at a site and the requirements of the different species, it is only possible to give some general guidelines to selecting a site. I'm just going to go over this. Here's some Garcilaria on the line. Here's another Seamoss farmer. I actually know this guy, Ainsley. Very nice man. He is one of the original farmers in Seamoss. This guy has been doing it for decades. This is interesting. Grazers. It is important to not to try farming too close to the reefs, where there will be populations of fish that feed only on seaweeds. Over seagrass beds, grazing fish will be a problem if the lines are too close to the bottom. White sea urchins or sea eggs live in seagrass beds, and they will quickly eat the sea moss on any lines that touch the bottom. Farmers in St. Lucia have occasionally seen turtles grazing on the sea moss on their floating lines. So the sea moss in the natural state is food for a lot of people, and that's why it's important to make sure that we don't over harvest the natural sea moss that is in there, um, in the lines. I mean, in the waters. This is a talk about the process of drying. I think a lot of you guys already know about the drying and the peaching. Here's them drying some on the sand on the plastic bags. Here's them putting the sea moss on the drying rack. And if anybody wants a copy of this stuff, of this document, I'm happy to share it. Here's some Seamoss products. There's some people learning about the Seamoss. This is the sources of the information. Some further reading. Marine plants of the Caribbean. Seaweed cultivation and marine ranching. And the annotated by bibliography of the seaweeds used for the foods in the West Indies. I'm going to check some of these books. Here's a Seamoss recipe. So the question, is it better to tame sea moss from farmers that are certified through the St. Lucian Seamoss Farmers Association, being that there are only 140 of them? First of all, I'm not aware of the St. Lucian Seamoss Farmers Association. I'm only aware of, there's like 3 associations that I know that are registered in St. Lucia. That is the Province Seamoss Farmers Association. There is the Opicon Seamoss Farmers Association. And then there's the Opicon Charcoal Farmers, or I think it's the Opicon. Let me check. I'll tell you what it is. It is the Opicon Charcoal and Agricultural Farmers Group. And so those are the 3 groups that I know. And yeah, I do recommend that you try to buy from a farmer that's registered with the association, mainly because having a farmer that's registered with the association allows you to ensure that the sea moss that you're getting is from a verifiable source and is from someone that isn't stealing. There's a lot of theft of sea moss on the island, and so I encourage everybody to ensure that they are getting their sea moss from a verifiable source, from someone that whatchamacallit. Let me see this. So he just sent a link. Can I look? Hang on, let me see if I'm able to. You know, you put that link in, and now I can't click it for some reason. But let me see if I can do this. Oh no, here it is. Let me share my screen. Where is that? Phone tab. I think this is the what he's talking about. Yeah. So this right here, what you're talking about, that's from the Prolin Seamoss farmers, and they're the largest farmer association in St. Lucia. And definitely, I recommend if you can to buy your Seamoss from them. But like I said, as long as they're a registered farmer from any of these groups, like we're St. Lucian Seamoss Company, we're not a part of the Prolin's farmers, but we still get good Seamoss, right? And I mean, as long as they're from a registered Seamoss company, I think that, or Seamoss farmer, and they can show proof. Like one of the things we do is we always ask them, "Where's your farm?" You know what I mean? And that's a really good indication of whether or not these guys are real or not. If they have a farm, they'll be happy to say, "My farm's here," or "I'm in this community," or whatever. For us, being that my partner's on the island there, it's very easy for us to verify the source. But the CMOS is there's a lot of problem with that, and it's terrible, and it's really like these people work extremely hard to get this CMOS. You know what I mean? And so for people to steal it and try and make a quick buck, it's a shame. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm gonna go and I need to put my computer on charge real quick. Give me 1 second. Oh, I'm back. I just want to charge this. So yeah, if anybody's interested in joining in the conversation, and we can share the screens and stuff like that, let me know. I'm happy to bring people in the conversation so we can talk more. But I think before I left, I was talking about the stealing and how it is. It's just a bad situation. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people lose money, and sometimes it's like it's bad enough that they don't just take the CMOS, but they take the CMOS, and then they'll cut the lines, they'll throw the shit away, they'll what I mean? Like they just cause so much damage. And it makes it harder for that CMOS farmer to get back on their feet in a sense. Like it's bad enough that you took their CMOS, but you have to cut their lines too, and this rope is not cheap. It's expensive, and it's discouraging. So there's people doing that. We've caught CMOS people trying to steal CMOS from us several times. CMOS stealing from other people. There's constant just people just um, accusing other people and stuff like that. I guess that's the word I was looking for. And so it's just not cool, right? So I really hope that people, when you're buying your CMOS, especially if you're buying it directly from a source, that you do the best that you can to ensure that the CMOS that you're getting is from an actual farmer and is not from some just random dude that you met on Instagram. Because at the same time, you don't know what you're really getting. You know what I mean? You don't know the condition that this guy kept the CMOS in, especially if he stole it. A lot of these guys that steal the CMOS, they don't know how to dry the CMOS properly. They don't know how to clean the CMOS properly, and so is it's you. If you want good CMOS, you want to get it from someone that knows what they're doing. So Candace Jones just said, "Your CMOS is really good, but why is it not salty?" Um, First of all, I want to say there's nothing wrong with having salt on your CMOS, and some of our CMOS does come with a lot of salt. It is pretty salty. I think the type of CMOS salt is what's important, and depending on the farmer you go with, some of the farmers know how to dry their sea moss or clean their sea moss in a way that it reduces the salt. Some of these sea moss farmers just take the salt off, really, before they get it because they know that a lot of buyers have issues with the salt. And so rather than just argue with them about why the salt's okay, it's just easier to take the salt off, right? And so that's what they do, you know. Oh, here's a cool thing. I'm gonna go back to sharing that. So one Facebook user says, "My sea moss never has added salt. It is naturally dehydrated sea salt water. So I keep my salt and use it to season my foods because it's full of minerals and vitamins." I 100% agree with that. For the most part, nobody that I know of in St. Lucia would even think of adding salt to their sea moss. That is the most ridiculous idea I've ever like. It literally makes no sense, right? Why add like fuck? You know what I mean? Salt is an added cost. Salt is not cheap. It's not free. So why add more stuff to the sea moss if it's not needed, right? The salt that's coming off that is it's just a naturally occurring salt, and it's a good sign. It's sea salt has minerals in it. There's a reason why we have um, pink sea salt because it's supposed to have all these trace minerals. There's no difference than that of the sea moss, the salt that comes off the sea moss. Now, one thing I'd like to add is that if I were someone who wanted to use the sea moss salt, I would make sure that I filter it to the point, like, because when you are getting the salt, there's all kinds of debris in there. And the sea moss salt is very fine. So it is possible to filter it in a way so that you reduce, different pieces of grass, dirt, sand, whatever that might get into it. And that's what I would be, how do you say it? That's what I would be cautious of when putting it in my food. Now, it's definitely great to put into your water and soak in it, like Epsom salts or like a bath bomb and stuff like that. It's good to put on your skin, your face, your hair. You know what I mean? Add it into scrubs and stuff. The sea moss salt, it's full of minerals. So the added salt is only on the goopy sea moss salt that you can easily find from the Asian markets for $2.99 or $4.99 a pound. Yes, well, here's the thing. I don't think that sea moss had salt added to it. I think that's still the naturally occurring sea moss. But the way they dry that sea moss is dried in a way that causes the crystals to form larger. So the salt, because I believe that a lot of that sea moss is done in a commercial environment. And so if you had 50 tons of sea moss that you need to dry, it's not convenient for them to just spread it out on the sun and dry it. They'll put it in a machine to dehydrate it. Well, it's possible, my mind thinking that if you have it in the dehydrator, that the salt crystals will form faster because there's a machine that's actually pushing the drying process big faster than natural, so the crystals would form bigger. I don't know. I have never did any proof to know that, but that's sort of like my logical conclusion I draw from. But you definitely don't want to get this kind of sea moss that's from the Asian food markets, not because it's fake, but because it's just not good value. At $2.99, $3.99 a pound, the pound that you get is like, if you compare it to the sea moss we sell, it's like 1 ounce of our sea moss equals like 1 pound of their sea moss because it's so wet and full of moisture that because they don't completely dry it, that it weighs more, and so you don't get good value. That's my view of it. And so the guy who said he uses it on the foods, the salt on his food, looks like he's saying he runs it through a strainer, which is great stuff. I'm happy to hear that. Um, the ones that I've found seen flavors either table salt or rock salt. I agree, and I think it has a lot to do with the way it's dried. You know, so um, that kind of was all that I wanted to show today. Oh, that's it. Nah, I'm getting back. I want to go back to this. last page that I was showing. Spore recruitment. This is pretty cool and interesting. Um, the best species for this method of propagation. Oh, I'm getting a phone call. Excuse me, one guys. Hello. Hey. Pardon? Ye- yes. Yes. The reception's breaking up a little bit. But is it possible to call you back in a few minutes? Because I'm just on a live stream and I'm going to finish it up soon. No problem. Thank you for calling. I'll call you back soon. Bye. Yes. Sorry about that. Busy guy, always taking calls. You know what I mean? I got to make sure that, in case anybody has any issues, I'm there to help them. So, um, what did Candace Jones say? I'm sticking with you guys with the exception of yours. Every sea moss I've tasted has been salty and taste fishy. Yours has no taste. It's wonderful. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much. But I'm going to be honest with you. There will be times that you'll get the sea moss that has a little bit of a fishy smell to it. You might get the sea moss that has some salt in it. I mean, this is sea moss. You know what I mean? It's coming from the sea. So there will be salt because there's salt in the water. And there will be the smell of sea because it smells. But I know what you're talking about, and for the most part, the farmers that we buy from, I don't know how they do it, but the Seamoss comes out with this like really nice, buttery, nutty smell, and it's very clean. The Seamoss, definitely that what I mean. I can't argue with. So getting back to the spore recruitment here, the species seems to thrive on moderate freshwater runoff and is often found in shallow, protected bays near uninhabited areas, growing on discarded materials such as cloth, sacks, tires, and plastic. These are ideal sites for spore recruitment, but the seeded lines will then need to be transferred to a more suitable farm with less polluted water. Interesting. See, there are areas where you can, capture sea moss or harvest sea moss, and it's in polluted waters. Like, not all areas are great for sea moss. You want to make sure that the water is so important where you get that sea moss. The procedure for spore recruitment begins with anchoring empty lines in a dense population of the plants and waiting for the spores to settle, which usually takes about 2 weeks. The spores themselves are too small to be seen, but after they germinate, the sporelings should be visible after 2 to 4 weeks. Once the lines are seeded, they can be transferred to a monocultural site and attached to stakes or rafts, as described earlier for the lines. Interesting. So, beautiful document. You know, that has a lot of great information on CMOS farming. And I think if people, understood and learned more about the CMOS farming and how the CMOS is farmed, you'll see that it is really not like pretty much no difference than CMOS that's growing off the rocks or CMOS that's growing off coral. The only difference is that we use this to we attach it to the ropes to keep it from floating away, but it doesn't get the material and the minerals from that. It doesn't get the material. The minerals come from the dissolved minerals in the ocean. That's where the nutrients come from. You know. And if I go back to sharing my screen with the Google Earth Pro, you'll see that these areas are really like there's like no pollution. You know. Just gotta zoom out here because I think I'm on a different side here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And what's up? What's up? Good to see you guys all. I'm gonna zoom in and show you if you can see some of the farms here, because I know there's some farms right here. See all this area here, see all this like green stuff? That's like where all like a lot of the Seamoss is. It's all in these little areas here. Even like the wild naturally ones, that's where they're growing. You know, and this is all like shallow water, shallow bays. Wonder how low I can zoom in. Yeah, I guess the resolution is not good, but there's a lot of farms, Seamoss farms in this area, all along here, because they come off in this road here, and they go along this road here. Like one of our Seamoss farms is like right in this area here. And if those that remember the story that I told about the naked man I saw on the beach, this was the road that we drove down and was basically going alongside here. And I saw the guy running on the beach here, like going across here. And then when he came in, I think it was like right around here is where he dove in, and we were like right there with the car to catch him stealing. And this guy was like buck naked, you know what I mean, sitting there trying to steal the Seamoss from all the farmers there. I think it was on a Friday afternoon. It was some day where they didn't expect the Seamoss farmers to be. We just showed up and just caught them red-handed. So one person here says, I appreciate your transparency and willingness to educate us further than basic knowledge. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I think it's almost like part of my duty, because I was, you know, I spent so much time in St. Lucia last year and met so many amazing people in the farming industry, and I saw firsthand, you know, the truth and what's really going on there and stuff like that. And I think it's important to share it because, you know, these Seamoss farmers, guys, they work hard. Like they really, really, really. I can't even begin to describe how hard these guys work. I think, you know, definitely have to go down there and show you guys so that you guys can get the gist of it. But I'll give you like one sort of example, and that is, you know, you see how far this is from the main road. Okay, I want you guys to, you know, put this into kind of perspective. Okay, the main road is here. Okay, see where this mouse is, right? Most of the people that live in the Seamoss industry in this, say, this area here, they all live here, this Opicon, right? So they are carrying the Seamoss from, let's say, here or even here. They're carrying it over to here. A lot of times by hand. They're walking. Okay? Let me repeat that. They are going from, let me just move this so I can see this to you guys as I work. They are going from here to here, and they're carrying the sacks, and each sack usually weighs somewhere between 50 to 80 pounds. Okay, and some of them are carrying 2 or 3 sacks at a time to save so that they don't go back and forth. Okay, out of that 60-pound sack that they carry, When they dry it, after they've cleaned it, so they've got to clean the 60 pounds, they got to wash it and lay it out to dry. They also got to bleach it first. After they move that 60 pounds, by the time they're done with it, that 60 pounds is actually 6 pounds that they're able to sell. So they lose it by a factor of 10, right? So to get your 100 pounds, they have to move 1,000 pounds from here to here. And a lot of, or not even there, up here, where some of them live. And a lot of them don't have cars. Do you know what I mean? I mean, some do. I'm not going to say like no one has cars, but there's a lot of them that do this on their backs, that do this all by hand. And, you know, and that's not even, we're not even talking about like them in the water, cleaning the Seamoss, bringing the lines out into the water, you know, attaching them, dealing with the currents and the waves and, you know what I mean, all that stuff. And then there's like even sea lice in the water. So as you're working with the Seamoss, there's bugs like eating you, you know, because you don't have like proper water gear to be in the water, you know. It's crazy. So Candace just asked me, he goes, tell us more about the bleaching process. Okay, well, one of the things I think to do would be good if I'm going to talk about the bleaching process is to go back to the document that I showed earlier. Let's just say, Candace says, thank you for the education because everyone out there is selling it and many are not quality. People need to educate themselves on what they're buying and putting in their bodies. Thank you. Thank you. I agree. That's part of the reason why I'm doing it is to make sure that people understand that, you know what I mean? Not all, like, all Seamoss is real, but not all Seamoss is of the same quality or the same, you know, is taken with the same care and love. I know Seamoss from St. Lucia is just full of love. I wish I had some right here now to show you. This to just like once you look at it, you see that there's love in that Seamoss. But I'm going to share my screen now with that document that I had earlier. Actually, did I close it? No. Let me just see here. I think I did close it. Let me share it. Okay. Let's go down back to, there's a direction here talking about the bleaching process. Okay. So here is the process for cleaning. The first stage of processing is cleaning. The plants should be cleaned as much as possible in seawater while they are still alive. Once the plants have been dried, any mud or silt is much more difficult to remove without soaking the plants again. If the plants are washed after they've been dried, most of the nutrients will be washed out and lost. Drying and bleaching are done in the sun. Farmers in St. Lucia begin the process by laying the fresh plants in clear plastic bags and leaving them in the sun for a day. See Figure 4. That's Figure 4. So this right here is, you know, the Seamoss drying out. The inside of the bag heats up, and the heat bleaches the pigments in the Seamoss. Bleaches the pigments in the seaweed and dries off a lot of the water. After this treatment, the plants are spread out in the open, either on specially built racks or simply on palm leaves on the ground. And so here they are harvesting it on the racks here. It's very important to protect the plants from rain while they are drying, either by moving them to shelter or covering them with a tarpaulin. This is particularly important with eukinema, which turns to porridge if it is rained on and can't be used again. As the plants dry, salt crystals form on the outside and must be removed by shaking. Any other impurities also must be removed at this stage. The seaweed is now ready for sale. And so if you notice in there, they talk about the salt crystals on the outside and how it's naturally forming. You know what I mean? So this idea that the Seamoss shouldn't have salt. This is a document that was, let me go back to the beginning here. This was produced like years ago. says copyright 1997, but I'm pretty sure the information was from when they first started Seamoss years ago. It says until 1980s, all seaweeds used in the Caribbean were harvested from wild populations. However, like many other natural resources, the demand exceeded the supply, and the wild stocks um, dwindled almost everywhere they were harvested. For this reason, the government of St. Lucia began a research program to develop methods for cultivating sea moss. The program began in 1981, and in 1985, a group of sea moss farmers made their first harvest from a farm on the southeast coast of the island. Since then, a number of individuals and families in St. Lucia have taken up sea moss farming as a profitable occupation. The technology has also been transferred to people in Grenada, St. Vincent, Dominica, Barbados, Antigua, Jamaica, and Haiti. Okay. So, some interesting information. And, it just shows you that, we've been cultivating sea moss for a long time and they've known about the salts. One person here says, can you please explain possibly where people have gotten the quote pool grown from? I've seen, I've even asked these people, do they mean a tide pool or a pool? And they're saying a kid's swimming pool. Yeah, so I think that most of the idea of this pool grown sea moss came from Dr. Savy, and he discussed sea moss growing in pools and stuff, and that's the stake. But I think that when he made those videos, that was like when this document was made, it was like 20, 30 years ago. And a lot of things have changed then. I don't think that it's cost prohibitive or it makes sense economically to grow sea moss in a pool because the ocean is free. And so I don't think there's really any pool grown sea moss, right? Some people have told me that there's some in the States and in Nova Scotia and stuff. But when I've looked at it, it's not the same Caribbean sea moss. It's usually Chondrus crispus that they're farming. And they're doing it for an industrial purpose, right? To get the carrageenan in for other food stuff. And this is what I think people need to understand about the industry is that sea moss is used in thousands of products. It's used everywhere. And a lot of stuff. Anything you see with vegan that has a thickener and stuff like that, it's generally the sea moss that's been used to extract either the agar or the carrageenan, right? And so because of this, we need to produce large amounts of sea moss on a massive scale. And these people that are producing the sea moss, they're not interested in these 92 minerals or whatever minerals and stuff. They're only really after one thing, and that's the carrageenan. So they're going to grow it and produce it to maximize that extract, right? That, I believe, is what causes the sea moss to not look as good as it would if we were growing it for the mineral purposes. I think that the sea moss like that is grown and dried in a way to maximize the agar and carrageenan, so it's going to be heavier and have more moisture in it, and it's not going to look the same as what you would get from the Caribbean and stuff. And they sell this stuff cheap, right? Because these industries are buying it at metric tons at a time. So you produce a product that's worth pennies at the pound. You're selling it to these major corporations that are buying them at tons. It's not, how do you say it? It's not a far stretch to think that it's possible for some of this sea moss that is really meant for these commercial industries to get diverted into the retail market. And that's where it's starting to show up. And I think that these people that are buying it are the grocery stores and stuff because they're looking at it from a purely business perspective. They're looking at it and thinking, okay, this stuff is 50 cents a pound. I can sell it for $4 a pound and make good money. You know what I mean? And it's an abundance. It's huge supply. Thank you. The sea moss that we cultivate and then we grow in St. Lucia, it's not being produced on a massive scale or a massive level. Do you know what I mean? And so the cost is not going to be the same. It's more expensive. Everything is done by hand. Like I just showed you guys in the video how far these guys have to walk to fucking dry their Seamoss. And so, you know what I mean? You can't. It's like it's kind of comparing apples to oranges. You know what I mean? It's like this. You know, the Seamoss that you get in those markets, that's a commercially made Seamoss. Whereas the Seamoss I find in the Caribbean, like St. Lucia, like Barbados, like Antigua, like St. Vincent, they're more produced on a more like an artisan level, or you know what I mean? Like it's not produced commercially. It's not used with machines. It's a more natural method, you know. So this Facebook user says, yes, that particular product and is industrialized and used to ensure boost milk substrates, select ice creams, select baby foods, vegan, marine collagen, beauty and hair products, and dates back to the 1800s in Ireland during the potato famine. That is correct. I agree with you totally. And so there's a lot of uses for the sea moss, you know. I see a lot of people have joined me again, so I'm going to just share my screen again and show you guys St. Lucia and where a lot of the sea moss is grown. So, from my knowledge and experience, and people, if any sea moss farmers are around, they can probably correct me if I am wrong. Right? What is this? I just hit something. Interesting. This, I just hit the, yeah, the button in the corner I hit. What it did was it brought it back to like back in the days in 1985. They had satellite images in 1985. I guess that's why the
bad ones.
Yeah, look at the quality. It's horrible. Wonder how I get that out. Oh, here it is. You can do a timeline.
That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah. You can see what it looked like in 2010. Actually, let's go to Pralin and see if we can see the the changes there over time. So here's Pralin. That's 2010.
Oh, that's Porcelain Island.
Yeah, it's pronounced Pralin.
Pralin?
Yeah.
Cool.
And that's see there, 2010. There's not a lot of farms there. It's interesting to see these different images.
Yeah, it's like they all have different qualities and stuff.
Yeah. I think. So this area here, that's where a lot of the sea moss is.
And so those are like reefs, right?
Yeah, that's all rocky reefs under there.
Nice. Those are cool.
That's 2007. So that's what a lot. So it says it glitched out for some reason. Can you guys see me still? Yeah. So a lot of the sea moss industry starts probably even in this. Oh, no, I don't think that's Dennery. So there's not really much sea moss in Dennery that I know of. I think it starts kind of like around here on the coast and goes all the way down the side here. So Mon Repose. There's also Mikud. Like you said, Pralin. Savins Bay. I've been on this point here, BG Point.
Nice. So is this area in like Castries or like Viewport? Where is it?
So it's in the southern end of the island, on the Atlantic coast. My child is here, just so you wonder who's asking questions. And so it's on this. Let me zoom out here so you can see. So this is all of St. Lucia here, right?
Yeah.
This is the north end. This is where a lot of the businesses. This is the capital. So most of the inhabitants are all living up here. Everything here is sort of like sparse and, you know what I mean, not heavily populated. Maybe except by here where the Pitons and Font Saint-Jacques.
And so the Seamoss is mainly cultivated in Montrepose?
In between, say, Montrepose and Opicon. This area here, all along this stretch.
That's a big coastline.
Yeah. And if you see, on the coastline, there's not a lot of people living there.
Oh yeah, because like a lot of it's like rough, mountainous. They haven't like developed housing over there.
No. And then it's like where it is, it's like there is a
zoom into the water in one of the bays.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like you see the different color, like you can like tell how much mineral you've got, like just like smashing up against the shores of the island.
Well, I think this with the different colors would signify the depth of the water.
Well, yeah, but like, do you see like the shading?
Mm-hmm.
Like the shade the water is, usually it becomes a more crystally blue once it gets closer to land.
Yeah, and it's cleaner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you can see you can see all the minerals and stuff by just the color of the water.
You can see there's not a lot of villages and areas that they grow the Seamoss in. That's a little probably fishing village there.
Oh yeah, because you got the road coming up right against it.
So just zoom out a bit here. Hello. I wonder if they can see me, guys. See or hear me. So yeah, this is Mikud. We go down the coast. Huntington Beach. I think this is, Savins Bay. So I know a lot of people that farm in this particular area too, especially along this sort of coastline here. There's a lot of Seamoss farms, and they got them in the middle of the water here.
And there's like reefs in there too, right?
Yeah, see all this brown stuff here? These are all reefs and rocks.
Oh, I couldn't see it because of the sun. Cool.
Yeah. So this is all the reefs and the rocks in this area. All the brown parts, all the dark areas are generally like, or lighter areas, I guess. I don't know. But there's a lot of Seamoss farms, even right here. Like, see this area here? That's a staging point for Seamoss, guys. Like they're drawing Seamoss right there. And that's probably a car, a guy going to Seamoss. So let me see how fast I can zoom in.
I don't even think that's a road. I think people just drive down there so often.
No, it's not a physical road. It's like a dirt road.
Yeah.
Like a path.
That's what I mean. Like, you got enough cars driving down the one area long enough, you create your kind of own road.
And that's kind of like a hill. So this is on top of the hill, and that's lower to the bottom. I wonder if I can do this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, if they take them down there.
Let's see. It's like a giant slope. I don't know where it is. It's kind of hard. Exit the ground. And then even to get here, like some people walk it, but you can really only get it by car. And even with the car, you have to have like a serious 4x4 vehicle, because I think it's here or somewhere where it's like the road is like friggin' insane. Like the shit that these guys do with their vehicles to get to these places, it's like I am like in awe. I'm just like, what? Like going up giant cliff, you know? Yeah. So here's another example of how far these guys have to go. This is the road here. There are people that have to walk here, down here, over this hill to get to right there. That's where they do their Seamoss.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That is such a long walk.
Yeah, it's like several kilometers. It's not easy. And they're carrying Seamoss on their backs.
Americans could never.
Yeah. These guys don't know. They quit so fast. So here's another area too where they have a lot of Seamoss growing. In this area here and here, you know.
It looks like they've got some like really good reefs over here.
Yes. And this is Coconut Bay. So where our farms are located is like right around here. And it goes like, there's all kinds of Seamoss farms right there.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Paula from California. Hey, what's up? Amelia. I'm currently right now in Toronto, Canada. So Paula from the T dot, you know. And make sure you guys follow me on Instagram and on Facebook. You just search St. Lucian Seamoss, but I'm also on YouTube. You search the St. Lucian Seamoss Company, and I'm going to start doing more videos on YouTube, going into more details about Seamoss and how Seamoss is grown, dried. I'm going to invite some Seamoss farmers to come on here and talk with me, and we discuss Seamoss and stuff. And I think it's going to be pretty awesome. Yeah, I'm excited about that. Get away here, shoe bug.
All right, these wasps really think they'd be out in the backyard.
Yeah. So hold on now. Americans could please learn the history of what our ancestors went through on slave planters. I take offense to that. I'm not sure what he means, but I think maybe he's upset because I said Americans, and he, you know what I mean, wouldn't do that work. But like some Americans were slaves and plantations and stuff.
When I say Americans, I mean like all Americans. Like compared to people who live on the islands, we are really weak. Like we're so like used to like living basically in the laps of luxury that when any actual hard work comes around, like we're just so not used to it.
No, you bring up a good point, and I remember watching a documentary where they showed they were talking about Mexican immigrants coming to work on their farms and taking their jobs, and then what they did as an experiment was they got a bunch of Americans and basically put them on the job to see how they would fare compared to these migrant workers. And most of these Americans like quit within the first hour and was like, hell no, we're not doing this. This is not worth the money that I'm getting paid. Yeah. And I think that's where you're trying to make the point, and I agree with you, is that I don't believe that any North American would do well, let me put it like this way. If most Americans were to do the job that these guys are doing in St. Lucia, they would respect
and be willing to pay more than what they expect to pay the Seamoss. A lot of people think the Seamoss is free and that it's done with little to no work. Like we just pull it out of the water, snap our fingers, and it's Seamoss. That's not the case. It's a lot of work, and I don't think that most people would be willing to do that level of work for the level of pay that most Seamoss farmers are getting nowadays. And it's getting scary because people are trying to get it lower, and I don't understand how lower they want it to go or expect it to go. Listen, I, I'm an entrepreneur. I've been doing business for a long time. I can tell you this right now. You want to make more money, getting it for a less price is not the answer. The answer is to sell more Seamoss. Okay? Stop trying to get it for cheaper, right? Start trying to sell it for more. And then when you sell more, you can go back and try and get it for cheaper. But it's like they're doing it ass backwards. It's like they want it cheaper so that they can sell more. That doesn't make sense, and it's costing at the expense of the farmer, which I think is wrong. You know what I mean? They did their part. We need to do our part and just sell more Seamoss, and everybody's going to win. You'll make more money, and the Seamoss farmer will make more money. Stop trying to squeeze the Seamoss farmer to make those extra few bucks. If you hustle hard, you can double your sales, and there you doubled your profit. And you didn't have to do it at the expense of squeezing the Seamoss farmer. You know what I mean? So Candace Jones says she's correct. We could never live like that. First off, our bodies couldn't hold up. We are also nutrient deficient.
Right? Like you think the St. Lucians walking down that trail, you think they care? No, they walk that and they walk it with pride.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's good. So it looks like I've been running this live stream for about an hour or so. And I got my buddy Mason there chilling, and so I'm gonna ask a few more questions, but I'm gonna tap it off. I don't want to do it too much of a be on here for hours and hours and take up everybody's time. Definitely, if you guys have more questions, put the questions in the comments, and I will follow up and answer them and read them. And let's hope we can try and organize or arrange to do more of these live streams like this. I'm going to pick out another topic to talk about Seamoss for the next time. If you guys have anything you want me to talk about, that would be great. If you put that also in the comments, and it'll help. Here's a question that just came up, or comment. It says, that is not the same in comparison. I work in healthcare and refuse to work that type of labor. My great grandmother did it for enough for $150 a week and lived to tell her great grandchildren her story at 91 years of age. Definitely try to be public.
I think they meant not trying to be political.
Oh, definitely not trying to be political.
Yeah, I think I cut it off before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hang on. There's more to it. Yeah.
I think my point was a little misconstrued. I think what I was trying to say is like St. Lucians work hard, and us in North America, us people in North America, we're used to just like over productionize a lot of like technologically advanced stuff helping us out. These people in St. Lucia, they're working with their hands, they're working with their heads, and they put a lot of effort into the Seamoss, and to treat it like it's some over serialized and commercial product is paying a disrespect to them.
Definitely. So he said, definitely it was misconstrued. I would stop while I'm ahead. Sorry. And I, you know what? It's hard sometimes to read the comments while you're trying to do the show and watch. There's so much going on in my screen. If you could see my screen now, I got like 20 windows open up. So I want to apologize if I did misconstrue it or not understand what you were trying to say. But the point is, it's hard work. Whether Americans can do it or not, that's besides the point. The fact is that it is back-breaking labor, and I feel that we're in a we're starting to move into an area where I feel like it is not good for the farmers, and I see in the market people trying harder, always trying to find ways to reduce the price of the Seamoss. And I feel like, I mean, there's a lot of other ways to increase profit than having to do it at the expense of the person that's doing majority of the work to get that Seamoss to the market. Said something about the young lady in the back. It was the young lady in the back. That was you, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what she meant.
I think she meant like I didn't. I think what happened was I didn't explain what I meant properly, and so it was misconstrued and taken off as being rude to like the people on the island and their families.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Well, I think I answered most of these questions, and I do got some work to do today, so I'm gonna let you guys go. And like I said, thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of this and participating. Please, continue to have the discussions in the comments, and I'm going to follow up with these with the comments and do my best to try and answer anything that I missed. So this Facebook user says, I think that even if you pay attention into the Seamoss groups, there are tons of people trying to like um, undercut people like you that are credible, that improve where you get your Seamoss from. They always say the cheapest Seamoss. They always say the cheapest Seamoss gets ours. And then this person said, cheaper is never better. I agree. I don't believe that cheaper is better. I mean, it's good to get things for a good price, and it's good, to make money. And I do believe that as you increase the volume of what you're selling, there should be opportunities to get price breaks. But a lot of people don't realize that when you're dealing with the Seamoss at the source and you're buying directly from the farmer, there is no price breaks from us. Whether we buy it for £1,000 or £500, we really don't get it less. The market price is the market price. And so sometimes it's difficult for us to reduce the price on volume because you can only reduce it so much, right? So another question from Candace says, is the purple Seamoss better? It depends what you define as something better, right? I think that all Seamoss is good. I feel that the purple, it has a lot of nutrients and micronutrients and enzymes and what are they called? Not nutrients, but amino acids and stuff that are different than the gold, right? The gold, through the process of bleaching, washes a lot of those nutrients out and stuff. But that doesn't often mean that it's better. I find that the purple Seamoss is harder on your body, and so it could be more damaging over long term if you're using it consistently at a high level in comparison to the gold Seamoss. So for me, I recommend people take the purple as something to occasionally when they need an extra boost or something pick me up, or say they've done a few weeks where they weren't eating clean, or what I mean, they're just feeling like shit. The purple might yes, silence. The Seamoss is going to the purple and stuff will give them like a boost, but I'm not sure if it's great. I could be wrong, but I don't personally take it every day. I take the gold every day, and I feel that it's definitely easier on my stomach than the purple and say the green. Look at Mason. What are we doing, Mason? We're just chilling. This guy lives the life. Lazy dog. So purple fruits and vegetables are rich in anthocyanins, which are natural plant pigments that provide food with their unique color. Registered dietitian booking rights for WebMD studies have shown that anthocyanins may benefit brain health, help to lower inflammation, fight cancer, and heart disease. Interesting. Nice. And I think I need to make some time to kind of further examine the use of the colors and how they affect our bodies. Mm. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys, for participating. I am going to start ending this stream now. Again, make sure you guys check us out. Follow us on Instagram. We are on St. Lucian Seamoss. On Facebook, we are at St. Lucian Seamoss. And if you search St. Lucian Seamoss Company on YouTube, you'll find us. I have a couple channels there. One is called Seamoss Talk. I recommend you join that and subscribe to that, and also subscribe to Seamoss Life. We're going to start releasing a lot of videos of Seamoss farmers and guys that are working in the Seamoss industry right on the ground, and that's going to show you the life behind the scenes, and you know what I mean, just give you like an inside look at life as Seamoss farmers. So that's going to be on Seamoss Life. Make sure you guys subscribe to all of that. And then comment here just said cheaper is better. No, that's not it. Here it is. Your dog is so adorable and so well behaved. He is just living life. Yeah, he's behaved when he wants to be. You know what I mean?
He's also a little menace.
Yeah, he can be a big menace when he wants to be. I kind of compare him to like an all college frat boy or something like that. Yeah. But yes, thank you guys for watching, and I'm hoping to be back soon. This is Julian Jean-Pierre from the St. Lucian Seamoss Company. Please, when you can, check our website out at www.stlucianseamosscompany.com or www.stlucianseamoss.co. All right, and with that, I hope you guys have a beautiful Monday, and thank you. Yes, and be blessed.